Today I'm Irene Harold. I'm the immediate past president of ACRL. My past presidency term, immediate anyway, ends with ALA Annual, so it's my pleasure to welcome you. I also am a former section chair. I was the chair of college library section. Actually had a 4-year run at it because I was the vice chair, and then past chair for 2 years because of someone who couldn't do it, and so I said sure, I'd stay on. So I've been where you are and know a lot about ACRL now, having been a board member, a director at large, and now done the vice president, past president's role. So we're delighted to have you here. We really appreciate your service, and we're here to help this transition be as seamless and helpful for you as possible. So I have with me today some of the staff, which is great. And I know that there's other slides, so maybe we're ready for the next one. I don't have control, do I?
Elois, are you doing the slides? There we go.
There she goes. So if you two would like to introduce yourselves. Mary Ellen?
Hello, I'm Mary Ellen Davis. I'm the executive director of ACRL, and I've been a member of ACRL since I was in library school, way back.
Mary Jane?
I'm Mary Jane Petrowski. I'm ACRL's associate director. I think I joined in 1988, so it's been a while. And if there's anybody here from the instruction section, I've, as Irene said, been in your shoes, but it was last century.
Ooh,
I know, but true.
So do we have Megan with us today or not?
We do.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Griffin. I'm an ACRL Senior Program Officer, and one of my main duties is serving as the staff liaison to ACRL sections. So I very much look forward to getting to work with you all over the next few years. Thank you.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elois Sharp, and I'm an ACRL Program Coordinator.
So Megan and Elois are key and essential to your section leadership. Megan helps, like if you're going to do, I know CLS does the Friday night feast. I know that STS does a dinner meeting. Whatever your events are, Megan's there to help you. She also works with your folks as they develop programming and proposals to submit for conferences. And Elois is like so invaluable to help get you into Zoom, into the WebEx, Adobe Connect, whatever it is to support your virtual and ongoing meeting needs. And you heard a lot of that in the flipped classroom session that you could, the tutorial that you could have watched before this. And I know many of you did. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And thank you, Megan and Elois and Mary Jane and Mary Ellen, for all your hard work. We can't, we are a member-driven, member-valued association, but we couldn't do it without the outstanding staff that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. We like to say it's a team effort. We like to work collaboratively with the members and the staff to get done what we need to do. And I wonder if before we go into this next slide, we could just take a moment and ask everybody to introduce themselves, which I know is challenging because I'm not sure that everybody is showing up in the same order. So
maybe if I can find folks, I will
just call them out. Good.
Sure. I think the first person I see is Veronica. Veronica, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
All right, here I go. Hopefully the audio is okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm incoming vice chair-elect for RBMS. I'm at the University of Arizona Libraries. I'm Borderlands curator and librarian.
Great, welcome. And next I see someone who lists as SK something.
Hi, that's Shannon Supple. I am appropriately coming after Veronica. I am the incoming chair of RBMS, and I am the curator of rare books at Smith College in Massachusetts.
Welcome. And that was Shannon. So I see Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Raber. I'm the incoming vice chair, chair-elect for EBSS. And I am at the University of Iowa as an instruction librarian and a team leader here.
Welcome, Erica. All right, NFO Asberg.
Hi, I'm Nancy Fosberg. I'm at Queens College, CUNY, and I'm a subject liaison. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm the incoming vice chair, chair-elect of Literatures and English section. And I'm a subject liaison.
Very cool. Thanks, Nancy. Y. Cortez?
Yes. Hi, I'm Yvette Cortez, and I'm the incoming chair of ACRL Arts, and I'm the fine arts librarian at Skidmore College.
Fabulous. Thank you. And Pamela? You have to unmute.
Hi. Yeah, I did. I'm Pamela Salela. I'm at the University of Illinois Springfield, and I am the current vice chair of the Women and Gender Studies section.
Of which one?
Women and Gender Studies section.
Oh, I was liaison to that group. Love them.
Oh,
welcome.
Thanks.
And Elizabeth White.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth White. I am a research and instruction librarian for political science and 5 billion other things at the University of Georgia. I am the incoming vice chair to the Public Policy and International Relations section.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Amanda.
Hey everyone, my name is Amanda Peters. I work at the University of Michigan as the Student Engagement Librarian, and I'm the incoming vice chair for the University Library section.
Thank you, Amanda. I think I see Michelle next. And Michelle says, it's Michelle Twat, currently serves as chair of CLS. And there's more, but I can't see it on my screen. There's chat going on.
We have to open up the chat box. It says, I'm the reference coordinator at Gustavus Adolphus College in St. Peter, Minnesota, and currently without a microphone.
Thank you. Sorry. All right, Susanna.
Hi, I'm Susanna Angziskin. I'm the chair of the Research, Instruction, and Outreach Services Department at California State University, Northridge, and I'm the incoming vice chair, chair-elect for the instruction section.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Natalie, yeah.
Hi, I'm Natalie Haber. I'm the online services librarian at the University of Tennessee in Chattanooga, and I am the incoming vice chair for the distance learning section.
Welcome, Natalie. So I've been reading Red Sparrow, so everything's Russian. Sorry.
That's fair. I would go by Natalia. That's cool.
Okay. And next I see Timothy Clausen.
Hi, I'm Tim Clausen. I'm the head of the Science and Technology Library and Business Library at University of Alberta. And I believe it's the incoming vice chair for Science and Technology section.
All right, welcome from up north.
Yeah,
John tells you, yes, you are.
The land of the midnight sun.
Absolutely. All right, my screen just changed and I've got Laura Bonella.
Hello.
Hi. So what section are you with, Laura?
I'm the outgoing chair of Women and Gender Studies section.
And where are you right now?
I am in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple.
Perfect. Thank you. Chris. I see Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Rotolo. I am the Director of Arts and Humanities at the University of Virginia Library, and I am the incoming chair of the Literatures and English section.
Thank you, Chris. All right, John Meyer.
Hello, I'm John Meyer. I work at Penn State University as a science librarian, and I am the current vice chair, chair-elect for the Science and Technology section of ACRL.
Cool. Shaw Towers?
Hi, it's Shay.
Shay, sorry.
No, that's okay. That happens all the time. I'm at Baylor University. I'm the Director of Research and Engagement there and also the liaison to visual arts and theater arts. And I'm the incoming Vice Chair, Chair-elect for the arts section.
Fabulous. Shay.
Yes, thanks.
Jay Bryant.
Hello, this is Jackie Bryant. I'm at the Community College of Philadelphia, and I'm the current chair of the Community and Junior College Libraries section.
Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you.
And Jill. So Jill says she's currently serving as the chair, or, oh wait, Jill Morningstar. No, you're the right one. She says I'm the wrong Jill, but no, she's the right Jill. Anyway, I can't find the chat.
There's another Jill here. If I don't know which Jill you wanted, if it was Morningstar or Conti.
Well, it was Morningstar is what I was seeing on my screen. So her chat box says she's currently serving as vice chair, soon to be chair for EBSS, the Education Psychology Children's Literature Librarian at Michigan State University Libraries. All right, so Jill Conte, why don't you go? Now that we'll do we did the Jack and Jackie, now Jill.
Oh, hi, my name's, and hi, Jill Morningstar. I'm Jill Conti. I am the head of the Social Sciences and Humanities Center at New York University, the Big Apple. And I am the incoming chair-elect for ANTS, which is the Anthropology and Sociology section.
I love that. So we've had little apples, big apples. All right, I see Kristen Woodward.
Hi there. I am currently the Vice Chair, Chair-elect for the Distance Learning section. I'm talking to you from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where I am Online Programs and Instructional Design Coordinator.
Fabulous, thank you. And I do see that Marielle Colbert is on our list here too in the session. Your staff, right?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I am the ACRL Program Coordinator and Staff Liaison for interest groups, discussion groups, and chapters. But I am listening in today as I will be doing this tomorrow, so this is a learning moment.
She's lurking! So welcome, Marielle, and it's great to connect. We've worked together on planning talks to chapters councils and things. So I think that's everyone. Did I miss someone?
Did you get Brett? Did we get a Brett?
That's me. I'm here.
Yay.
Hello. Hi, I'm Brett Cloyd. I'm currently team leader for International and Area Studies at the University of Iowa Libraries, and I'll be incoming chair for Politics, Policy, and International Relations. Thanks.
Fabulous. Anybody else that I missed somehow? All right. Well, let me just clarify a little bit that over my long tenure on the board, I have actually been liaison to many of your sections. So I was to LES, which I don't think we have anyone from there, that's Literatures and English section, DLS, which we do have people here from Distance Learning section, Women's and Gender Study, I was with you when you changed your name. And I also have been a long member of PPIRS, which used to be the Law and Political Science section. So great to hear from so many of you and to have you here. Oh, LES is here. Sorry, I just missed that. So bad me. Clearly, I got to get my act together here better. So welcome, everyone. I hope that you found the flipped classroom tutorial to be useful for you. And if you've got questions, I will figure out how to look at chat again. And then we'll just follow those. But I don't know why it's not letting me see the chat screen. Somehow I am Zoom illiterate.
Irene, at the bottom of the screen, I see a number of little icons. In the bottom center, there's one that's a little bubble that says chat underneath the video, underneath the PowerPoint.
Yep. So I had to go out of full screen. That was my problem.
Okay.
So once I did, now I can see it. So yay to Nancy and Christine from LES. Okay. So on your screen is something that's really important. You all have been invited to Leadership Council, but we really want to highlight that the location has changed from what was printed in the schedule and what we originally set out in the invitation. And the reason for this is that the hotel where we originally were meeting is too far away from the convention center for people to get to Michelle Obama's opening keynote if they so desire to attend. So we wanted to shift the location. It's now at the Hilton Riverside St. Charles Ballroom to make it easier for folks to attend. And we normally have been having a welcome reception for networking that's either in the past used to be before, and for the last few years it's been afterwards. But we're just trying to think about whether or not we need to, if we can do it in a different way or not, or if we just want to cancel it to make sure that people who want to go hear Michelle Obama can. So I do wanted to bring that to your attention and to reinforce that that's why it's on your screen. Yeah, I see people going, yay, thank you for the change. Woo, woo, woo. I know, I'm having to buy my husband a one-day conference pass because he's with me at conference and wants to go hear Michelle Obama. And I said, you could come hear me, honey. And he's like, no, Michelle Obama.
Well, and Irene, thank you for highlighting that change. This is Marielle, and I see a few people started, John has commented that before work for him, one of the struggles we're having is whether if we had a short reception before 1 o'clock, like at 12 or 12:30, whether people would be in town and able to meet that. My concern is that after hosting Hillary Rodham Clinton, the Secret Service requirements for security means getting in lines and things, and I respect that I think almost everybody would like to see Michelle Obama, so we're looking to see how we can end no later than 3, and that would mean no reception unless we had it beforehand. We're even thinking about whether we can condense the meeting a little bit. We're going to see what instructions we get from ALA's conference services in terms of how much time we need to allow to line up. I have heard that they are running Meeting Express shuttle buses from the Hilton to the convention center, because even though they're right next door, that's still a mile away from where Michelle will be speaking. The convention center itself is over a mile long.
It's huge. If you've never been there before, it really is the longest convention center I've ever been in.
So if people don't mind typing in the chat box whether or not you would like us to put the reception before 1 o'clock and whether you'd be able to attend. Yeah, Amanda's signaling what I wasn't sure about. I know a lot of people fly in that morning. And I certainly understand how travel changes in the moment, having just flown home Sunday night and had my plane delayed 45 minutes. You never know.
Ooh.
Oh, Natalie, we will miss having you there as Kristen. So we may well try to see if we can get space to move that reception up. And if we do, we'll try to make sure we have hearty snacks or a box lunch or something, recognizing that some of you will be coming right from the airport to the Leadership Council. But we really do not want to get in the way of you being able to hear Michelle Obama if you would like to. And I was making the assumption that since most of the people I know wanted to hear of Michelle Obama, that most of the new leaders would as well. So thank you for your feedback. Irene, back to you.
That's very helpful. Yes, thank you. So Leadership Council, I know that some folks have been like, well, what is it and why do we go? And we did send President Cheryl Middleton did send a message out that kind of explains the purpose, but it's a chance for us to engage face-to-face with our member leaders in a way that it's more challenging when we do it virtually or through listservs. And sometimes we send out messages and it's kind of the drop in the forest. You're not sure if it's going to be an acorn that takes root or if it's just going to rot. So it's a great opportunity for us to meet with you and to get an opportunity to get feedback directly from you about the work of the association, and also to help you do your work as an association leader. We try really hard to provide information that's meaningful and helpful that you can take back, whether it's tips and techniques for more effective meetings, if it's thinking about what your section is doing and how it fits into the Plan for Excellence, which is ACRL's strategic plan and its core values. In fact, at Midwinter, which many of you probably were at, we were soliciting information about equity, diversity, and inclusion, and it really influenced the board to create a signature initiative on EDI. And you'll hear more about that at this Leadership Council. So we encourage you to come. We try and make sure you have some takeaways to take back to your members in your sections to discuss with them and maybe to help you in thinking about and framing your work. We did put a new part in your annual report where you can talk about what your section is doing that contributes to EDI within the association. So we encourage you, it's not, you know, it's not a checklist where you have to do everything, but if you're doing things, we'd love to hear about them and be able to support you. It's the great thing about ACRL is we really are member focused and we try to be flexible and nimble in our responsiveness to what our members' needs are. So that's my plug. Come to Leadership Council if you can. If not, we'll try to make sure that the information is sent out to you afterwards as best we can. I think at Midwinter we did a one-pager of kind of highlights. Are we doing that again this time, Mary Ellen?
Well, I was going to say that at Midwinter for the first time we tried to share with you in advance the table discussions that those who were in attendance were going to have so that you could have those same discussions virtually with your group. I know the instruction section is only going to meet virtually, for example. So we have invited ARL's diversity officer, and I know he probably has a fancier title, but I apologize, I'm bad at remembering titles. Mark Puente is going to do an exercise for us on EDI, and so if there's any way that we can send out instructions for that conversation that you can do it with your members in your section, we will do that, but we will share the documents and include you as much as possible. At this point, it is not possible to do a multiple blended meeting of face-to-face and people on camera kind of thing. So it would be more of an asynchronous thing or synchronous with you and your team rather than trying to phone in at Friday afternoon.
And if you're having a virtual meeting, please make sure that you invite your board liaison. I know that I oftentimes, because especially when I was in Hawaii, would get up at 4 in the morning just to dial in and listen and be supportive if there were questions or information needs that I could help facilitate for my section. So don't be shy, we're here to help you. Every board liaison approaches it a little bit differently, so there's no one way to do it. So it could be they just email you and ask if you've got questions. It could be that they listen in on your virtual meetings. It could be that you just have to follow up with them afterwards. So it's up to you to help establish that relationship and what's helpful for you. Don't be afraid to ask.
I think that's great, Irene, and I want to reinforce a point that may have been made in the flipped classroom, that the board liaisons really are your conduit back and forth to the board. They can help you, you know, get a board document ready and things like that. But please do reach out to them specifically if you have a question. Do not assume that if you've posted it to a general discussion list that that board member is going to see every post and go, oh, that's a question for me. So they have multiple sections and committees that they're liaison to, as well as their day jobs. And so if you have a question, please write to your board and staff liaison. We like to think of ourselves as teams of board liaisons, staff liaisons, and section leadership so that we keep all, if you will, 3 legs of that 3-legged stool informed and working together so that you have the resources and the information you need to carry out the initiatives that you're interested in.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we're ready for the next slide. So you heard the recorded presentation. So this is the Q&A part where you get to ask whatever your questions are or what you're wondering about. Oops, go back one. Thank you. And it's our opportunity while we've got all this brain power online with you to give you a response. So if you have a question, we are happy to respond. These were just put up as prompts in case they were questions you had. So I'm looking at the chat box.
Or feel free to use your mics for a small enough group.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
this
my
really
mic says Ohio somewhere.
And this, this really is your time. We got positive feedback about the flipped classroom. So there may have been things that you're like, yeah, that's interesting. What did they really mean by that? Or maybe it was 100% clear. You don't have any questions and you just wanted to show up and say hi. That's okay too. But we wanted to introduce ourselves and make sure you knew that you had resources to help you be successful. John wants to know if there's been difficulty scheduling programs during annual 2018.
I'm glad your requests and proposals went well. That's good. Okay, so Mary Ellen or whomever wants to respond about the
I'm going to defer to Megan about the scheduling of programs because Megan Griffin will, if you have not worked with Megan before, is just a wonderful leader in working with the sections. She's been a real key member of the ACRL team, and she also works with the ALA Conference Services on the whole program proposal submission and notification process. So Megan, can you comment on that one?
Sure, thank you so much. John, that's a great question. So if you're talking specifically about programs, as in the ones, ACRL is allotted approximately 20 official programs each annual conference. It's all dependent on how much space ALA Conference Services has in each convention center, because as you may know, they like to keep all of their programs in the center. They also try and get all discussion groups and forums and such in the convention center. So there's as much professional development content as possible in one place, which is a big change. If you've been coming to ALA for a while, you'll notice that's a big change from 22 hotels spread out across the city. So back to your question about programming, ALA, I sat in on the meeting where the ALA Conference Committee scheduled out the programs, and they really tried to be conscientious about folks' limitations or restrictions that they might have. So I think they did a really nice job. They actually went line item by line item for over 250 programs and scheduled them all out and tried not to overlap as much as possible within each content stream. So we received a bit of quite positive feedback from that process, which is great. If you're talking about actual actual meetings or discussion group meetings that were scheduled, as you know, this is kind of the first time around the ALA asked us to, one, really think about if your group needs to meet on site at conference, and two, they implemented much stricter time frames that you could request meetings. They really they were trying to schedule 1-hour meetings, and that was to allow as many meetings as possible within the spaces that they had. They needed to reduce the campus size, again going from 20 plus hotels, where you might notice that when you look at the online scheduler this year, there's only, Lois, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there might be 6 or 8 hotels being used for meetings in addition to the convention center. So as you probably know, they recently released that schedule, and I think they worked really hard and tried their very best to make everyone as happy as possible, considering all the things that were going on with the different constraints. So I think the biggest adjustment was maybe having committees think about, hey, maybe we can meet virtually, or maybe we really only need a 1-hour time block. Maybe we can knock out some of our tasks beforehand or afterwards virtually. So a bit of that time shift. But otherwise, unless there's other feedback that you'd like to provide, I think as best as it could go, we tried to make it go as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Megan. I see Laura's question about the whole work plan process. So I don't want to confuse people because having been on the board now for 7 years, is it the sections that do a report on what their year's activities have been, and then the incoming chair lists the goals or plans for the upcoming year, and that's submitted to the board by the dates that you were given in the tutorial?
Well, even more, a little bit more confusing, Irene, if I may interrupt. The work plan is a term that refers specifically to the board's committees, like the publishing committee, the professional development committee, and we ask those division level committees to develop specific goals and work plans for the year that are submitted to the board. In fact, the instruction section was doing this for years before we caught up with them on the division level committee. So kudos to the instruction section, and some of the rest of you may be doing it too. We ask the sections to submit strategic plan implementation reports at the end of the year so that you can highlight for the board, and we use some of those for the ALA Council, what you have been doing over the year as it relates to some of ACRL's goals in its plan for excellence. Megan pushes out information about when those reports are due. I believe they're a fillable PDF form, but why don't I pause there and let Megan jump in with more specifics than I have.
Sure. Yeah, the strategic plan implementation reports are due in July each year, and it's generally expected that the chair of the section would compile the information, kind of at the end of the term. That's one of the last big projects that they have to do. A lot of sections ask their committee chairs to provide input as well, and many sections have a document they use throughout the year to kind of add to it gradually, so that by the time July rolls around, you're not starting from scratch. You've kind of been keeping track of what the section has been doing. So we will send out multiple reminders about this process. We generally in May send out the first notification with a reminder in June, and of course in July. It is an online form that you'll be able to submit. The good news is that we're not expecting you to submit on every single category in that form. Essentially, you only need to submit for the items that your section worked on. So no pressure. If you only have a few items to submit, that's perfectly fine. It's more about, the quality rather than the quantity of the submission.
Thank you, Megan. That's a great point. Because, we don't need to have 500 pages of type to submit to the board for them to go through. So think about, what did you really do that moved the needle? What was really different or exciting that really advanced the profession in terms of the value of academic libraries? Or if it's not one of the ACRL goals, we do have another section called Enabling Programs and Services. And many of you in the sections are doing very interesting things related to your niche that don't necessarily roll up specifically to one of those 4 goals. So we'd love to hear about that. And now that the board has a brand new strategic initiative, as Irene was saying, on equity, diversity, and inclusion, hearing what you all are thinking about that or doing about that is great. So, but that does not preclude you from, like IS, if you want to come up with your own work plan process or use those forms within your section committees that is perfectly fine, but we don't need to collect them at the ACRL office level to share with the board. But I think some kind of plan you'll be wanting to think about how to engage all your various committee members so that they feel that they have meaningful volunteer work to do. One of the old jokes in the association world is kind of getting a group of people together for their first committee meeting, and they all look at each other and they're like, what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, let's plan a program. And so conference programs are very good and an important thing to do, but we don't need every single section committee to be doing a separate program. So, and as you know, it's a competitive process, so ALA doesn't even have room for that many. So be creative and think of ways that will help your committee members feel engaged with the work and feel that they really are making a contribution.
So thank you, Mary Ellen and Megan. The other thing I wanted to say is that your report that you submit is part of what goes to the ALA archive. And so it's documenting the work of the association. So you're creating our history, and you might want to think about it in that way. So when they're talking about highlighting what's significant and meaningful for others, think about posterity too, because you never know when in 20, 30, 50 years, there'll be a researcher that wants to come back and say, well, what did they do on X, Y, Z? So you want to make sure you hit the highlights. And if you wonder why I get confused as a 7-year board member, every meeting we have a 300 to 400 page packet to read, and copies of your reports go in them, and we all look at them and review, in addition to the division level committees and the other kinds of reports and white papers and things. So my apologies that I didn't have it off the top of my head what the section report, which is the contributions to the strategic plan, needed to be.
Irene, that's why we're teaming for results. We don't expect you to memorize everything. That's why we're here.
Awesome. So I see Veronica wants to know more about using ALA Connect for the membership group. So I am assuming when you say membership group, you don't just mean for your committee on membership, you mean it for your section group. And it's a great place to put files that are going to be needed to be used by your section in the future and to refer back to. So I remember we used to make sure that we would put not just, and Mary Jane can speak more about this, what your membership committee chair receives on your membership for your section, but also on things about processes and some of the historical documents and things that need to be built upon by the future. So in CLS, we had a research coach program, so some of the early documents were put there in the files, but it's a communication mechanism. The other thing about ALA Connect is that that's where you want to make sure that you're posting announcements 10 days minimum in advance of any virtual meetings or meetings that you're holding, because that's how your membership gets informed of those. You can put them out in other ways too, but you need to put them in the official record, and that's ALA Connect. Other thoughts?
Irene, this is Mary Jane, and I'm the staff liaison to the ACRL Division Level Membership Committee and the ACRL Section Membership Committee. So for those of you that might be new to this group, just about every section has a membership committee, and the chair of that membership committee is a de facto member of the ACRL membership committee, and we use the Connect space to share with you monthly membership statistics and spreadsheets so that you can contact your new members, your reinstated members, your renewing members, and your lapsed members. And right now, Megan is working with our IT department, particularly around the section membership committee, historical folders and files that didn't quite come over in a coherent fashion. So we'll be doing an orientation in the fall around ALA Connect and around the communication and reporting of membership statistics. But you will have a deputy, so to speak, on this committee who will be sharing things with you like the crosstabs from the big membership survey that we just completed in, I think it was May or April. I think it was April. We'll have a lot of very interesting information for each of your sections that you can analyze and report out to your executive committee. So I'm not sure if that was your question, but when I saw the word membership group, it just triggered that comment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Jane. Well, that's kind of where my head went first, which is why I referenced you when I first saw it too. So please let us know if that didn't answer your question. That was it Veronica that asked that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to be clear or understand better how ALA Connect is used. So it sounds like the section chairs use it to submit announcements formally and also to save historical documents. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, and you can also use it to do polls. So if you need to do a virtual vote, or if you just need to poll your executive committee on something or your membership at large, you can actually do that within ALA Connect also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Irene, I don't know if that is implemented yet. I know they're working to that. We just it's coming, I believe. We just, for those of you who may not be familiar, ALA transferred from a former data platform that was sort of an in-house I can't think, Drupal-based platform that had been developed for ALA Connect, and just launched this week or late last week the brand new Higher Logic platform for Connect. So I think ALA is hoping that it'll be a much more user-friendly site, and that we're eager to see how members will use it. You can look up events, but we haven't moved all of our events off our website. So I think there's still some learning for all of us to do in terms of what do we put on the ALA ACRL website website? What do we put in Connect? Where do we duplicate? Where are people going to look for things? I think there's a thought that Connect might become more the inward-facing part of the organization, and the website might be the external part of the organization. Many thanks to Megan Griffin, who worked hours and hours and hours with the IT department to make sure that your groups and their files came over appropriately. Let Megan know if you think you're missing something, but she has been working very hard on this for a long time. And I think there's a lot more we could do to make Connect a robust site, but it's early days, so we look forward to you playing in the sandbox, if you will, and figuring out great ways that Connect will work for your section.
Okay, thank you.
So I saw that there were several comments about best ways to communicate and how you're enrolled in different lists, and you've gotten the answers in the chat box, which is that the ACRL staff does it for you. They put you on the leads list, and that there's a Communities of Practice Assembly, which is the COPA, email list for SC-L, and all of you should already be on that, and the ACRL leads list. But don't forget, email direct too, or pick a phone up, shocking as that is in this day and age, and give us a call, because we're here to help you. And if we can't take the call at that time, you can always leave a message and someone will get back to you.
You know, one thing totally that was not in the flipped classroom, but I just came out of a meeting this morning about it, and I imagine many of you have been hearing on your campuses about GDPR and what you're going to do to protect the privacy of your European residents. It's residents, not just citizens. So I wanted to assure you that ALA is working to formulate a plan on how we were going to protect data and when we can check in with people and when not, or when we have to get consent. From my preliminary discussions with the ALA attorney, I think all of you as section leaders will still be able to have access to section membership lists, the Connect, so that you can, you know, check in with people, but there may be some tweaks in how we do some things based on wanting to honor that new European Union regulation. So we will be sharing with you things, or you might see messages from ALA asking you to give your consent for your data to be used, so that we can, you know, tell you about registrations, or you know, send you additional information about the conference. So stay tuned for more information. We're working on it.
So, and I know this wasn't one of your questions, but finding contact information for committee members, they should all be in your ALA Connect site, and you should be able to see the roster and be able to send them a group message from there. But, you know, it's up to you what works best for you and your group. Many of the sections have opted to start with their ACRL ALA hosted webpage and link out to others. But I really want to encourage you to think about using the LibGuide instance that ACRL supports, because that way others can find you too. Sometimes if you have a section website that's linked out from your page, they may or may not think to click on it. But the LibGuides, you know, you go to the ACRL instance and you can see everybody at the same time and pick and choose which ones you want to look at. It's a great recruiting tool also, that you can make sure that you send links to your new members to point out to them that there's more information available for them, and to highlight the great work that you're all doing.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges going ahead is how we choose which of all the various platforms we have available, because we have the website, we have ALA Connect, many of you have Facebook pages or Instagram accounts or other kinds of social media, and the LibGuides, as Irene mentioned, and I see that John was saying ULS is using the LibGuides and developing the kind of content that Irene was talking about. So if you ever want to brainstorm with Megan about like, what should I use for when, I know she's happy to answer questions. And one of the points that may be implied, but I'll just make explicit, one of the reasons we have for that Community of Practice electronic discussion list is not just for staff to send you reminders, oh, please do this, or the deadline is coming up. We really encourage you to use that as a resource to ask each other questions like, how did you do this? Or what are you guys doing for membership? Or does anybody want to work on a program on X topic? Or I encourage you to think about webinars that you might want to do or publications you might want to do. There are so many things I think that we need to think beyond just the content for those coming to a face-to-face conference, but what can we do to help those people that are not able to come to the conference? And I see some of you wrote that you're not going to be able to come to annual this year. The membership data we're getting is showing that more and more people want education locally. So either, through chapters, through webinars. ACRL's roadshows are very popular right now as people are bringing presenters into them. So I encourage you to use each other. You're a great brain trust. So, reach out, ask each other, and see where you can help each other not reinvent the wheel.
So I see, thank you, Mary Ellen. I see Kristen has asked if we could confirm who can have access to the LibGuides. I'm assuming that's for posting content. Is it just a few people per section?
I'm going to turn that to Megan, yes.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's Megan Griffin. So what we've asked each section and interest group to do when they want to set up LibGuides for their unit is to have 1 or 2 main admins for your unit's LibGuide accounts. And then you can have as many regular users as you need. So for instance, EBSS has 2 people or 3 people who are kind of co-admins, and then they probably have 8 to 10 other people from various committees that are regular users, and those people can be assigned to the different guides that the admins create. So it's really, there's no type of limit on it. It's whatever you need, what works for your section. One thing to keep in mind is, as terms do end sometimes each year or every 2 years, we just need to make sure that new people check in and we get them the access they need if some folks have just finished their term.
So Megan, just to clarify, when you say users, you mean page editors?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yep, that's what I thought you meant, but I just wanted to be clear for everybody. So hopefully, Kristen, that answers your question. Other questions you may have? We want to make this session as useful for you as possible. So don't be shy. There are lots of things that you probably don't even know you'll need to ask about. But if you know now, ask away. Is the new ALA Connect up and running? As far as I know, it is. I've actually clicked on it and looked around a little bit. It seems to be running. I think as Mary Ellen noted, there might be, or maybe it was Megan, 1 or 2 little files that haven't quite transferred over yet, but please look and see if you notice anything that's missing and let her know. She'll get on it.
Yeah, we really think that the hope is that you'll be able to do more and more of your work in Connect and need those electronic discussions less and less, those listservs. But, we're in a transition time, and I think as a profession, we do love our electronic discussion lists. So we'll see if that transition happens or not. Yeah. Membership numbers for our sections, Veronica's asking.
Yeah, so that's a Mary Jane question.
Hi, Veronica and everybody else. We have the ACRL section membership committee. And so in their Connect space every month, we upload your section's membership report, which gives you quite a bit of detailed information about the breakdown. And we encourage your representative, which is your membership committee chair, to transmit those reports to the executive committee members. So we get the reports about 2 to 3 weeks following the end of the month. So, there's just a little bit of a lag in transmission. And as you know, we had a gray out period with Connect where we didn't have access to our communities. But as I said, we're now, in the process of migrating the old membership reports over into the new Connect, and we hope we hope to give the committee access to those pretty soon. So you should be getting your March reports in short order, I hope.
So I know that there was an email announcement about the new ALA Connect interface being up. You should have received that. Is there a posting somewhere on ALA's website that they can link to or share out with their members?
Hi everyone, this is Megan Griffin. I just wanted to mention two things. One related to the section membership numbers is that in addition to what Mary Jane said about posting monthly reports for your membership committees, if you ever need a list of your section members, all of whom must have opted to be contacted in their ALA communication preferences, I can run that for you. So you would just email me. And then related to ALA, they did, I believe it was on Friday of last week, they emailed members about Connect launching. ACRL hasn't yet emailed our member leaders about this because, as Mary Ellen mentioned, I'm still working through quite a long list of things we're trying to get fixed before we kind of, you know, get everyone rolling in there. In addition to some file issues, we're trying to just get things organized for you and make it clear, you know, this is where you're supposed to be posting your minutes and agendas. This is where you can have your private discussions with your committees. One of the things we're trying to do is create a public repository for every section so that each section secretary or chair and vice chair would have access to posting meeting agendas and minutes. So we're still working out a few things. You know, feel free to go to the new Connect and browse around, but just know we are trying to fix things up a bit for you, and then we'll get out more details as soon as we can to section leadership.
The message from ALA came on May 10th, 5 days ago, and the addressee was Pam Atkins, Community Engagement Specialist, and that's how I got the information that the new Connect was out and up. So you might want to check maybe your spam filter or your past messages if you don't recall getting it, but it did come through. And since you all have to be ALA members to be ACRL members, I'm assuming that you probably did get it, but maybe just didn't realize what it was telling you, that it was the new Connect had launched. So I know I missed a few questions here. Was there something else?
Oh, I pasted the Connect message from Pam Aikens with her email in it. That one's from April. I know I got the other one, but in trying to monitor this and search my email at the same time, I can't find it. But it was sent to every ALA member, but here are the links that you need in terms of finding out more information about the support site. Megan, can you paste in the, do you have Pam's latest message? Can you paste it in? I just can't pull it up fast. Or if you could paste in the address for ALA Connect so that people can get to it, that would be great.
So I see John's statement that we mentioned encouraging sections to consider not meeting at conference. I actually don't recall that being a statement. So I'm not sure. John seems to think this would open up more time for discussion groups, networking events, and programming. And what's the purpose of the midwinter meeting in this model? That last one's a huge question, but I'm not sure that we were encouraging sections to not meet. We were just telling you you had options.
Right. Maybe what I said was misinterpreted. I was saying there's more to just planning a program for annual conference. So I said you don't all have to do programs. And I also said that instruction section has decided to only meet virtually. So we'd love to have you come and meet, and if there is enough content in other things that you need to do, perhaps what one of us said, because I know I've heard ALA say it, that if all you need to do is have a 1-hour business meeting, we recognize that that's not a good enough reason to go to a conference, and you may want to work virtually. But we're hoping that you'll come and network and take advantage of the exhibit floor and go to some of the discussion forums and things. And ALA is considering the purpose of the midwinter meeting. The ALA Conference Committee is having big discussions on that. There is certainly a variety of opinions within the leadership of ALA about whether midwinter is an important regional conference giving people time to meet, or whether it is meeting whose time is come and gone, and we should just have annual. There's no final decision. I think the ALA Conference Committee is going to be talking about it some more. But for the immediate future, Midwinter is still continuing, and we'd be happy to have you come and schedule meetings. And maybe another thing you heard is that ALA is booking less space. So there's far less space available to us in New Orleans than there were in other cities. They're responding. They're not doing that just because, oh, they think we don't need space, but because the members who fill out the evaluations after attending conference say, conference campus is too big. I don't want to get on a shuttle bus to have to get to my next meeting. I want fewer meetings. I want a more compressed schedule. So we are trying to respond to that by reducing the number of hotels where there are going to be meetings held, thereby reducing the amount of time people have to spend on buses, which might mean that some of the meetings that you used to schedule a room for 8 people for half a day now can't be done in quite that same way.
I also want to mention my experience with CLS and virtual meetings. They did try to go to all virtual about 10, 15 years ago. Now, of course, the virtual software and hosting wasn't as good as it is now, but it didn't work. What happened was that members didn't feel connected. They really needed that face-to-face time and the ability to make connections and do things differently than the virtual environment allowed. So they went back to face-to-face meetings. I don't know what they're doing now, but that was the kind of the history of what happened. So, you know, it's really up to what works for the section, but we're not trying to dictate one size fits all. So you need to know and think about what works for you. I see Kristen's question about who owns the content when it's a section hosted webinar. That's a good question.
And Megan, maybe you can tell us what we do with webinars. I know if they're just a meeting, we're not recording them, but if you're hosting a forum, then we're happy to record them. And do they automatically get shared in YouTube, Megan, or where do we put them?
So I might have Lois chime in here, but no,
Okay.
We're not recording committee meetings any longer, just like on-site ALA meetings for committees are not recorded. Most of the discussion forums are recorded, and the people who present always own their own content. The only agreement, the only reason there's the agreement is that they're permitting us to post it on our sites for people to use. So no one loses ownership of their content, but I'll let Lois chime in if I'm not speaking correctly on that.
Megan, that is absolutely correct. No one loses their rights. We just simply ask for the recording to get permission to actually mount the recording. And all discussion forums, if they have speakers and they ask for those discussion forums to be recorded, they are recorded, and those recording links are sent out to the leaders as well as posted on the ACRL YouTube site. But as Megan stated, we do not record committee meetings.
There's a fair amount of labor intensivity in recording the meetings, getting them edited and ready to put up on the website. So we're treating virtual meetings the same way as we would face-to-face meetings. Please have someone take meeting highlights so that they can share those notes with the people that can't make it. But if there is going to be sort of a presentation that's more of a forum or a webinar, then we'll record those so that we're sharing more specific presentation type content.
So I see in the chat box that there has been quite a bit back and forth. So we all really appreciate you asking that question, John, and allowing us to clarify. No, we want you to meet. And face-to-face is awesome. So thank you. Thank you so much. I see there was a question, though, from RBMS saying that they were having trouble with the new slots and asking for a way to better support the work of their section. I would strongly encourage you to work with Megan and your board liaison to find ways that help you be supported. I think that without getting more clarification on what you mean about better support, it's challenging for me to answer it on the fly, but you've got resources. The staff and your board liaison are there to help you. I know we're at the end of our time, so I want to make sure if there's any questions we didn't get to, make sure they get in the chat box, and we'll try and follow up virtually by email or distributing to the section's leadership group. And I know that there is a survey that they'd like you to take to give feedback so we can make this even better for next year's group. Well, thank you all so much for attending. It's been our pleasure and really excited to work with all of you. You're great, engaged leaders, and we look forward to this year.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Mary Ellen. Please fill out the survey because we do tweak these very much based on what you tell us is helpful or not helpful. And Shannon, if you've got another minute, I'd be glad to attempt to answer your question, but I don't want to delay other people that are trying to log off.
Is Shannon still on here? I think she logged off.
Oh, she said thanks,
oh, no,
Mary Ellen.
SK's still there. That's Shannon, right?
I'm here. I'm just muted.
All right.
Okay.
So the short answer, Shannon, is I really think ALA is trying to have a standardized approach to conference. So if what you're thinking is, oh, I really need a 4-hour time slot or a different kind of time slot, I'm less optimistic that that would be easy to achieve. But if you have some specifics that you haven't already shared with Megan, I mean, I'm happy to chat with Mary Geekus about this, the ALA Executive Director, but I really don't see ALA being able to provide the kind of customized meeting times that they did years ago where everybody could just say, well, I want to start at 8. No, I want to start at 8:30. Well, I'm starting at 9 to 11, you know, so they're trying to make it less confusing for those people that are new to the conference. So it's easy to see where meetings and programs are scheduled and for people to get to multiple ones. So it is a bit of a change for us in the way we do our work.
Yeah, I think for us, for RBMS, and Athena Jackson can speak more to this because she's our chair this current year and she's been receiving the comments, but it's been more that in the past we've had, say, an hour and a half slot for a committee, and now everybody's kind of in an hour slot and they're not getting the time that they need to do the work of the committee. So I think that's more of our issue. We don't need 4-hour slots for the most part. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. We don't need 4-hour slots for the most part, but I think we need a little bit more than an hour, and that's, you know, hour and a half is usually pretty good. So that's more of my concern, and I think I would want to know more specifics from Athena that I could share with you to make it more of a sort of an effective request to all of you, but I know that that's been an issue, and so I thought I'd bring it up here.
So I think some groups solved the problem by asking for 2 hours contiguously. So instead of 1 hour and a half, and they had better luck getting that.
Okay.
And Veronica, in answer to your question about not enough slots, a lot of that has to do with the history of where it used to be that if a section wanted a program slot, they just automatically got it. And then about 3-4 years ago, ALA shortened the calendar schedule for midwinter and compacted it into 4 days instead of the 5 to 7 days it appeared to be before. And so a lot of people felt at that time the compression because they weren't guaranteed that their program then would go forward. It was a more selective process. And so we've really encouraged sections to try to team up with other sections and co-present. And that way we made sure that we had enough slots that we could help people do their program. So we tried to be a little creative. And I think that's part of what people are still feeling and remembering. And now they've shrunk us, as Shannon said, from an hour and a half to you get a 1 hour slot.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was meant to be a question. Are there not enough slots? But thank you for explaining.
That's okay. It's
right.
27 years of experience.
Well, thank you all for being leaders and taking on this volunteer work. I hope if nothing else you've taken away, you've got board and staff liaisons that want to help you be successful and help your members be engaged. And I know I'm late for my 2 o'clock, so I've got to run to the next meeting. But thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Irene. Bye.
My pleasure.